the blackest WrestleMania of all time. From top to bottom, pretty much, it was black stars shining, whether they won or lost. Obafemi crushing Brock Lesnar, avenging all of the black stars that Brock Lesnar has beaten over the course of his career. Not sure black dudes even beaten Brock Lesnar ever fair and square. Javon Evans stole the show in the ladder match. Of course, a breakout star. Trick Williams won the United States Championship. Jade Cargill, yes, she lost, but she showed that she could hang with somebody like Rhea Ripley. I mean, we're looking at straight up black stars coming out of WWE. They are the future. They came from NXT. Now you're looking at them as future champions. Like, I would not be surprised if Obafemi comes out and is championed by SummerSlam. And let's not sleep on how important and impactful this is. This is not a usual thing that we see in professional wrestling. And this is from years and years of folks breaking through barriers.
What an embarrassment. What an absolute embarrassment. Where do I even begin? I guess we can start with the fact that David Dennis Jr. has earned the prestigious title of Captain Doofus. This dude is talking about professional wrestling like it's real. This would be the equivalent of Uncle KC coming on here and talking about the pretend basketball in the WNBA like it's real basketball. I could not believe this when I saw it. Someone at ESPN is talking about the WWE and they're pretending like it's real. Did you guys see Obafemi? Wowzer! He defeated Brock Lesnar and he avenged the losses of every black man that came before him who faced that evil white man. And the best part is he beat Brock Lesnar fair and square. Fair and square? What kind of grown man says fair and square? David Dennis Jr. seems to think that some dude named Obi actually won a fight against Brock Lesnar. Hate to break it to David Dennis Jr., whoever the hell Obi-Wan Kenobi is, he did not defeat Brock Lesnar. He was scripted to beat Brock Lesnar. He pretended to beat Brock Lesnar in a simulated fight that was orchestrated. This would be like watching Rocky IV and claiming Sylvester Stallone is the heavyweight champion of the world. He just beat the Russian. It's a movie. It's not real. Out of curiosity, I looked up the age of David Jr. A small part of Uncle KC wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. Even though he has facial hair, I was thinking maybe that David Dennis Jr. is still a young child. In that case, it would make perfect sense as to why that he believes wrestling is real. I mean, facial hair is not really a guaranteed indicator of age. It can be bought. Remember a few years ago when Just for Men was sponsoring the WNBA and several WNBA players were modeling synthetic facial hair in all those commercials? So maybe David Dennis Jr. borrowed some facial hair from his father to give him the appearance of being older while he was reviewing WrestleMania. I was trying to think of something, anything, that would justify a grown man thinking that wrestling is real. But imagine my surprise when I found out that Junior is not a teenager, he's a 40-year-old man. He's my age. With that being the case, and with David Dennis Jr. being paid to cover real sports at ESPN, why in the hell is he talking about the WWE like it's real? Why is he celebrating the mythical championships of black professional wrestlers or black sports entertainers? To make matters worse, He's pretending that WrestleMania 42 was some revolutionary event. According to Captain Doofus, the future is bright in the world of simulated combat. For the first time ever, black wrestlers were prominently featured at WrestleMania. I guess Junior forgot about WrestleMania 1, which featured Mr. T in the main event. I guess Dennis has never heard of the Junkyard Dog, one of the biggest wrestling stars of the 1980s. What about Ron Simmons, who became the first black man to become world champion over 30 years ago? Tony Atlas, Bobby Lashley, hell, arguably the biggest star in the history of the business, is half black. Has David Dennis Jr. forgotten about The Rock? Believe it or not, my inside sources, they actually filmed an exclusive meeting between David Dennis Jr. and the Great One. The Rock was at an event for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He was doing a meet and greet. He was signing autographs. He was taking pictures with thousands of children. As he's signing autographs, The Rock notices someone in line who is noticeably older than all the other kids. And by noticeably older, I mean David Dennis Jr. was the only one in line who was legally allowed to drive himself to the event. Jr., he is patiently waiting in line. The anticipation is building as he's about to have a chance to meet his Scorpion King. As he approaches the table, The Rock says, "You're too old to be here. What the hell are you doing?" "Hi, sir. I mean Rock. My name is David."
It doesn't matter what your name is.
All kidding aside, it is an embarrassment to ESPN that one of their so-called stars is turning WrestleMania, which is an event that is catered to children. One of ESPN's so-called stars is turning a kids event into an excuse to celebrate race. I know David Dennis primarily works at Anscape, the division of ESPN designed to cover or create stories of racism, but David Dennis Jr., he might want to be careful. He might want to read the room. I don't know if he's noticed, but there has been a mass exodus of woke stars recently at ESPN, and David Dennis Jr. might be next. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about Steve Kerr potentially leaving Golden State. Even though Steph Curry is still playing at a high level, the Warriors, they're going nowhere. They are looking at a complete rebuild, and legendary coaches in the NBA, they typically have no interest in a long rebuild. But not only is Steve Kerr potentially leaving the Warriors, he could be stepping away from the NBA altogether. I explain why, so if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Recently, we have seen a mass exodus of woke stars at ESPN. I'm sure you guys have noticed that I haven't been referring to ESPN as the worldwide leader in woke. That's because there's hardly anyone left. Several months ago, Elle Duncan, she was fired. Uncle KC, Elle Duncan wasn't fired. She chose to leave ESPN to become the face of Netflix. Yeah, ESPN tried real hard to keep Elle Duncan. Netflix made her an offer, and by the time she approached ESPN to match the offer, they already had the divorce papers drafted waiting on her signature. Clinton Yates, he was fired and lost his show on ESPN Radio. Damn near the entire panel on Around the Horn was fired after that dump was canceled. Sarah Spain quietly lost her job at ESPN. My inside sources, they are telling me that ESPN used the Milton approach with Sarah Spain. Have you guys ever seen that movie Office Space? If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a classic. There's a dork in the movie named Milton who gets fired from his job. But instead of the company letting Milton know that he's fired, they let Milton continue coming to work and they just stopped issuing his paycheck. Eventually, the problem will take care of itself. That is the approach that ESPN used with Sarah Spain. Once Around the Horn was canceled, ESPN buried Sarah Spain on something called ESPNW.com. One morning she woke up, no longer had a job. Bomani Jones, the originator of the term huge embarrassing failure. Father Jalen Rose, former lead pastor at Woke United Methodist. Mark Jones. Hoop Mark Jones! Mark Jones! Damn near every woke star at ESPN has been fired, except Cryin' Ryan Clark and David Dennis Jr. Now, with Cryin' Ryan, at least he provides value. He is a former NFL player who analyzes the most popular league in the country. But with Dennis, he could lose his job at ESPN and no one would notice. With that embarrassing video he voluntarily uploaded about orchestrated combat, hard to justify his continued employment at ESPN, a network that is supposedly dedicated to covering real sports. Keyword, real. You know, yesterday, Rob Parker at Fox Sports Radio, another dude who has an unhealthy obsession with race, Rob Parker, he pissed off a lot of grown men for questioning why they're still watching the WWE. Now, me personally, I thought it was a fair question. If a 35-year-old man drinks his coffee every morning while watching Paw Patrol on Nickelodeon, most people aren't going to let that dude near their dogs. If a 50-year-old man spends his weekends watching The Little Mermaid, his mother is wondering what the hell's wrong with him. It's the same thing with professional wrestling. If you're grown and you're watching wrestling with your son, or you watch it while not taking it seriously, that's one thing. But there are millions of grown men who get emotionally charged over simulated combat. If you don't believe me, spend an hour on Monday nights on Twitter, or look at some of the people who cover wrestling for a living. They will literally be screaming into their camera. This is absurd! Who's booking this shit? How dare you let Roman Reigns beat CM Punk? CM Punk is the real champion! There is no real champion. You know how many title belts that Sylvester Stallone has hanging on his wall? None. Because Rocky Balboa isn't real. Since wrestlers were performing with the circus 100 years ago, the product has always been designed for children. For a very brief period in the 90s, the WWF was making programming for the 18 to 34 demo, but for the most part, and especially today, wrestling is for the kids. The WWE isn't trying to entertain the lonely man who's living in a house on wheels. Matter of fact, they are actively pricing him out of the market because they don't want him watching their product. They want upper middle class families who are bringing their children. Anyway, sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.